Welcome to the 36th installment of Em Alejandro, your number one place for sports, cars, video games, fitness. If you're a man, you're here. Mr. Alejandro, about to tell him?
What you about to tell him, Alejandro?
We're about to have a eulogy for the deceased Denver Broncos.
Tell him, Alejandro.
Tonight, the Denver Broncos were slaughtered by the Seattle Seahawks in one of the most disappointing Super Bowls in probably the past 10 years, maybe more. The score was basically 40-0. I personally stopped watching the game at halftime when Seattle was up 22-0. And then all of a sudden, Percy Harvin brings back a kick return to make it 29-0. And then I believe Jermaine Kearse scores a touchdown to make it 36-0. Then Denver scores like a pity touchdown. And then Seattle scores another touchdown. The game was just out of hand. I'm not really sure why the Denver Broncos were even on the field with the Seattle Seahawks. This is not the same Denver Broncos that we saw play the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. This is not the same Denver Broncos we saw throughout the regular season. This is not the same offense that the Denver Broncos provided throughout the regular season. That historic offense that had such great stats. No, it didn't look like that tonight. Tonight was one of the most embarrassing performances I have ever seen from a team. The Denver Broncos didn't just embarrass themselves, they embarrassed the league, the NFL. This is bad business. Can you imagine all the fans outside of Seattle, obviously, that traveled all the way to New York, booked hotels just to see the Denver Broncos get smashed, massacred, assassinated, 43-8, all the days they took off from work to see this? What a waste of time. This was definitely by far one of the most boring Super Bowls I've ever watched. I didn't have a preference whether it was the Seahawks or the Broncos who won, but I didn't want to see one team not compete. This was whack. This was really a waste of time. I don't know why the Broncos were there. I'm sure there was a lot of people that wanted Seahawks to win, but I know they didn't want the Seahawks to win like this. Let's get into the Seattle Seahawks and their big win, 43-8. The Super Bowl MVP went to linebacker Malcolm Smith. He made the interception in the NFC Championship game from the ball that was tipped from Richard Sherman. And in this game, when the Seahawks was up 15-0, he had a 69-yard interception return for a touchdown. He took it back to the crib. Shout out to him. He's the Super Bowl MVP. I personally would have picked Kam Chancellor, the safety and one of the big leaders of the Legion of Boom. I thought he set the tempo early with that big hit he laid on Demaryius Thomas to really set the tempo and just let cats know, yo, if you come across the middle, you're getting rocked. And he also had a big game in the NFC Championship game. Shout out to Kam Chancellor. I would have picked him as my Super Bowl MVP. And I know that means something to him. Richard Sherman, he unfortunately was injured. He had an ankle injury and could not finish the game. I know he's extremely excited, of course. Shout out to Richard Sherman. You are officially a Super Bowl champion. Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Seahawks, he game managed his way to the Super Bowl championship. Shout out to him. I still don't feel like he's a playmaker. He's not a bum. He's not elite. At times he makes plays, but basically what he did was what they told him to do. Don't turn the football over, complete passes every now and then, and hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch, Mr. Skittles, he scored a touchdown. Shout out to him. I'm sure that was a big moment for him and his mother. His mother, when he was younger, in probably junior high school or high school playing football, would feed him Skittles during football games and basically tell him it's energy pills. And now he has an endorsement deal with Skittles, and he just became a Super Bowl champion. So shout out to Marshawn Lynch. I'm proud of him. That Seattle Seahawks defense won this Super Bowl. That defense was dominant. They beat up on the Denver Broncos offense. This offense looked non-existent. Shout out to that Seattle Seahawks defense. Shout out to all the Seattle fans that traveled from Seattle to see their team win the Super Bowl. I saw them tonight. They were live. They were loud. They were cheering. They were booing the Denver Broncos. They definitely made their presence felt in the stadium. Shout out to the coach for the Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll, who was definitely under a lot of scrutiny when he first came to the NFL. I believe he was the Jets head coach, and he was pathetic. Then he went back to college where he originally came from. He was successful. Then he came back to the pros, and people said, well, what is he going to do? Look at him now. He's now a Super Bowl champion. I want to give a quick shout out to the wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, Demaryius Thomas. He scored the only pathetic points that the Broncos scored. But the reason why I want to give him a shout out is because I'm sure that touchdown was big for him. His mother and his grandmother are in prison, and they're watching the game, and they're supporting him. So I'm sure they were ecstatic for Demaryius when he scored that touchdown, and that was a sentimental moment for him. So shout out to Demaryius Thomas. Well, that was a lackluster ending to the NFL season. But it's over. And on to the NBA season. Tonight's Bow Tie is brought to you by Countess Mara. Y'all chose it on Twitter. Y'all got it. Shout out to y'all. Tune in for more sports, cars, video game, fitness, and all that. Follow at Em Alejandro on Twitter to hear my immediate reaction to live sports events. And since tonight's Super Bowl was not entertaining at all, it's turn up time here in the Em Alejandro Studios. I'm here to entertain you, and you're about to get a very special outro remix. Seahawks spanked them, Broncos couldn't hit them. Seahawks spanked them, the Broncos couldn't hit them. The Seahawks put that work in. Shout out to Sherman. The Seahawks put that work in. Shout out to Sherman. The Seahawks put that work in. Shout out to Sherman. The Seahawks put that work in. Shout out to Sherman. Tell him, Ali. Yeah, T-E-A. We don't play.